Hi, in this video tutorial we will study natural language processing. For this topic I recommend reading the Artificial Intelligence textbook from these two authors, these two sections. This is just a recommended read, it is not a required, it's just that the content of this video is based on those two sections and that will cover these topics. Now, we have several goals the one to accomplish in the natural language processing, and one of those is of course to build intelligent computer systems. I mean, computer that has like a database interfaces or summarize reports, automated services. I mean, we just want to be able to communicate with a computer system, or what also uh, understanding how people think, because in the communication there is a lot of processing or thinking that is involved. And we also have interest in some of the linguistics, and and from there we even get information for processing, um, for example, for programming languages. That's another way of understanding also languages and communicating with the computer. And I mean, and we will study about more about sentences, how will be the definition of the exchange of sentences, how we make the analysis, and so on. And we talk about a little bit about linguistics for that. Okay, so the main question is, what is NLP, Natural Language Processing? Um, the main thing is that we want to communicate with the computers, and again, in artificial intelligence we have several difficult questions that we want to pose, like for example, can computer really understand? I mean, how's the people demonstrate when they are understanding? I mean, when we have a conversation, how do we know that the person is actually engaged in the conversation that we have? Or how do we understand? I mean, how do we know that the people is, or for example, in a lecture, that somebody is understanding the lecture? So maybe here we can have things about different ways. I mean, that if we can answer questions or whatever we're listening, I mean, if we can reply to participate in the conversation, or if we're asked, or what is it that we have been discussed. I mean, we summarize, translate. This will be some examples so we can learn from the processing of that language. And for example, in here on the system SAM, that is the um, um, system that is about using media. Uh, for example, some of the things that we can do is summarization, and then here we got these, or paraphrasing, or whatever. We here can talk about it, like we had this information, and then we we can put the information that we got was given like a summary, or maybe another type of application that maybe we interested is we got some type of text in another language, and then we can ask questions about what is happening by getting that information from there. Or something else that we need to study is about the concept of ambiguity, which is a main problem that we encounter when we're working with language, because there may be different reasons for which a sentence may be not deterministic, in the sense that it can have multiple interpretations. I mean, there can be that we are not clear, or what is it that means, that maybe has different things, and we have to rely on additional clues of ways of understanding, make a difference, I mean, as humans. Like a good example from the ones that are listed here, like here, do you know what time it is? And then here is not the same if we are asking this on, for example, now as to a stranger, that a parent to a child. So what we means is there are other type of meanings that we humans understand that maybe not just explicit in the sentence. Like, I mean, if it's the same, I mean, that we need to try to realize how is that the computer can understand, and how is that we will see how the computer will react with a sentence or with expression that maybe has multiple meanings, or there is other information that is not actually there but is part of the context or the word knowledge or the semantic and so on. Now, one way also that we use for the analysis of the language will be the syntactic analysis, in which, for example, first we can verify if a sentence is a well-formed sentence in, 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 in the exchange of communication. Like, for example, here in this grammar, S, which is the sentence, is composed by two main parts, which is the noun phrase and the verb phrase. And the noun phrase has a proper name, and then the proper name, a possible example is John, and the verb phrase has a verb, in this case is ate. And these will be rules, and I think we studied that in the previous lecture about some grammars, and we will do something else in this lecture and in other lectures. And then this is a data structure that is representing a list data structure that makes this representation, in which we can do the syntactic analysis. So in this case, we're talking about a sentence that has those two components, and again, we were just putting that in a different way. Or we can talk about grammar, I'm sorry, using the expression like a context-free grammars, and this is something that we have been discussed. So this will be my star symbol, the sentence, and then this will be two possible ways. The sentence is composed with these two symbols, which is the noun phrase and the verb phrase, and this is the definition of each one. And then again, we got the distinction when a symbol is a terminal and a non-terminal, and the non-terminal is the one that can be replaced, and terminal is just the part that can be generated, and there is no way that it can be replaced for something else. And the usual approach that we follow is the top-down parse, in which we start with the sentence, and then we start doing the substitution of each one of those sections, and then we generate the sentence. Or we can get this sentence and then verify if this is so in this case we generate the sentence, in this case the sentence we check if this is okay with the grammar. We also want to study the DCGs, these the definite clause grammars that were introduced in those years by these authors, and in which we can also use first order logic. And the idea is that we want to extend some of the things that we study in context-free languages, and to give us more opportunities to better study the sentence, right? Like allow extra conditions to be added to the rules, and other type of structures that could be generated, and checking about the structures and so on. So, for example, here in this grammar that we have been studied before, we can use this to prove that a list of words is actually a sentence, because otherwise, what about if we're being provided with some type of random set of words? So first, the idea of the grammar, if the order that they follow is the correct order, and then so this will be the ways that we could do it, like breaking the sentence into phrases and prove that the phrases are non-terminals, and then like in this case, let's say that we make enlist a definition of some rules for the pen, the function that we got to append to a list, in which are defined in the following way. And then here, this is just an example on how is that we are breaking the sentence John ate an apple in sections, and we're checking each of the fragments. And this is also very similar to a prologue approach. You see the way that this is doing, so it's checking initially the values for variable f and variable r, and then initially the first match is that f is nil, that means empty list, and then this is the list, and then look at how when we're parsing, then one possibility now f is John, and then this is the rest. Now adding 8 to the first part and r to the second part, and a structure like this will help us to make an analysis of the sentence. Like here, like we have a more complete definition of a grammar using Lisp. Again, we're using a pen, and then in here we're doing the definition of some of the rules of the noun terminals, like subject in this case will be appending a noun predicate and a verb predicate, and this will be the definition of those, and the definition of a noun predicate will be an article followed by a noun. A noun predicate can also be just the name, the like nouns, or like in this case here we got the definition of those that will be just the terminals. For these variables we got this can be John, or can be Bill Clinton, Berg can be this possibility, and then now we got two possibilities. Now if we had the definition of this grammar, then now we can do an easy test on checking using the append. If we check if John ate an apple pie is a well-formed sentence following these rules and this information that we have, which in this case says yes, and then look, it's the same type of words in the language, but this is not a well-formed sentence, and then it's going to return nil in this case. So maybe, in most cases it's not easy to understand the grammar rules or to design the rules for the grammar,